Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Brooke Barber. I am Director of New Student Orientation and New Student Programs for Idaho State. It is my honor to start our session today. As you know, this session is titled as Stress Management Strategies. And as a bit of housekeeping before we dive in, I wanted to say hello to Sarah and our other interpreters who are here to sign. Thank you so much for being with us. And this session is also being closed captioned. And so we encourage you at the bottom of your screen to turn that feature on if it would help you today. I encourage you to take notes throughout this session. I will mention also that it is right now streaming live on YouTube. So that is something you'll be able to go back to later and replay if there's a portion of the presentation today that you'd like to replay. But without further ado, it is my joy to welcome the wonderful staff members from the Counseling and Testing Services Center of ISU, Matt Ashton and Kristen Stewart Yates. Welcome. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Brooke. We are super happy to be here. We wish we could be in a room with all of you together. We all wish that, I'm sure. But thankfully, we've got this great technology to make things happen. So thank you, Brooke, for setting this up. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so that we've got some slides to show you. Is everybody seeing that? Okay, I see a nod from Brooke, so we're going to go ahead with that. We just want to introduce our office to you all and tell you a little bit about what we do here on campus and share some things with you about stress and about managing stress. Okay, so that's our goal, to have you walk away with a few kind of practical things. And as you get started with the semester, you've got some optimism about taking on the stress that comes. Okay, so we want to start with, if you think about some of the things that maybe you've experienced, if you've had car trouble ever, okay, think about who you go to. If you're handy with a car, maybe you can handle it yourself, but a lot of us aren't. And so we go to a mechanic, right? Someone that's going to know what to do to get our car back up and running. Or if you've got tooth pain, you're going to go to a dentist. Okay, if you break your foot, you're going to go to a doctor that knows how to get that set and healing. Okay, likewise, if you're on campus and you're having trouble with math, you're going to go to a math tutor. You're going to go to your professor, okay, someone that knows what to do with that, okay? Or anything problem with your apartment, you're going to go to your landlord, okay, or the housing staff and make sure you get everything fixed up. So when it comes to dealing with stress and emotional difficulties, who do you go to? Okay, you might have a really good friend, or you might have a really good mom, and they're wonderful to go to, okay? And sometimes it's helpful to go to someone that knows a little bit more about that, okay? And that's where our office is here to help you, okay? Counseling and Testing Service, we offer free, confidential counseling services for students. These are free to all students. If you are enrolled in any amount of credits here at ISU, you are eligible for our services, okay? And these can be for anything, okay? They don't have to be like this comic suggests, that it takes many, many years to finally find yourself and be, perfectly whole. Our services tend to be very short-term in nature. Some people come and they talk to us one time and they get what they need and they move on, okay? Sometimes it's a little bit longer than that. But any of these things you see on this slide, okay? Just getting used to the transition to college. It's a little different from where you've come from. Okay, managing basic stress. This could be normal stress, okay? Or maybe it's something that's bigger, okay? If you have struggles with depression or anxiety, or you've got problems with relationships, romantic relationships, roommate relationships, family relationships, okay? All of those can cause stress. If you've gone through traumatic experiences, we have a lot of experience in working with trauma, okay? Or if you're working on, personal identity, or you experience some discrimination based on a personal identity, whether that's a racial identity, sexual orientation, religious identity, any of those things, we can help you work through that. If you're just trying to gain confidence in, getting through college and getting through that math class, okay, or significant things like grief and loss, if you've lost a loved one or something significant has happened to you, And right now, we've got a lot of concerns dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic, okay? And there's a lot of stress that can come with that as well. So really anything that is bothering you, that you're struggling with, is a good reason to come and see us. We can work with any of those things, okay? As part of our office, we are counseling and testing service. So there's the counseling portion of what we do. That's where we have the services for students. We also have the testing office with us, and they provide professional testing. So this isn't psychological testing for emotional concerns or disorders. This is professional testing like taking the GRE, okay? Or entrance exams for graduate school, or if you're doing a certification or licensing. We also help with the ALEX testing. If you need to know where, to what math class to register for, through our office, they manage the ALEX testing so you can know where you're at with your math. Okay, and sometimes professors will have their course exams scheduled through our office as well. Okay, and so right now we are doing in-person testing. Face coverings are required, as they are in most places on campus. And so that's something you'll set up through our testing portion of our office. There's a lot of information on that on our website. But we're going to spend a little more time talking about more of the counseling background. So I'm going to turn it over to Kristen now.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Okay, so silly cartoon. However, it kind of ties into Yellowstone and college. So what did the buffalo say to his son when he left for college? Bye, son. So as we all kind of metaphorically either leave our home to come here or we're staying there, but a part of us has kind of left, right? We're all starting college. Oftentimes it's this initial kind of excitement and we're packed up, we're transitioning to college, pretty excited. And then stress kind of kicks in, right? Things start to get piled up. School becomes pretty challenging and relationships can be challenging in college. And again, this is kind of a different time with COVID happening and there's kind of different expectations and stress going on. Well, this is where counseling and testing can kind of come in and help sort through what's there and help you kind of find your own resources and support you during the stressful times to then lead you all the way through to graduation. We're here to help support you, whether it is now when you're transitioning into college, or maybe a little bit later on, or maybe it's closer to graduation or the whole way through. So we would just want to let you know that we're here to support you in your academic pursuits.
Perfect. So let me share a little bit about our services. Then I'm going to turn it back to Kristen. She's going to teach you some really cool things to get you started this semester. We have a number of different counseling services to help you out. And we do this because sometimes the needs are different for different people. And so we have a number of different services to meet what those needs are. Okay, we're going to go through the main ones here. First of all, if you're interested in counseling services, and this is, again, if you just have a question, you're like, hey, I think I just need help with something, give us a call, okay? With everything being a little more physically distanced, we are asking you all to initiate counseling by calling our office. And right at the top of this slide, you'll see the number for our office. So feel free to write that down. You can also look us up on the ISU website, and you'll find our contact information there as well. But just call our office. You can call in any day, any weekday between 8 and 4. We do close at 5, but it's best if you call before 4 in the day before we wrap everything up. What they'll have you do is they'll ask you just a few questions to see what your needs are, if you need to talk to a counselor, or if you're calling about testing or something else. They will then get you scheduled to meet with a counselor. That'll be a phone call, and they'll send you a link by email for some online paperwork like you do at any doctor's office, just some basic information that we need from you. Then you'll talk, the clinician will give you a call at that scheduled time. And they'll talk with you about what your concerns are, what your needs are, what your circumstances are, so that we can know what's going to best meet your needs, and then talk with you about the different services that might meet your needs with where you're at and what you're asking for. Again, this can be something as simple as I just need to talk to a counselor about this one thing. And for that, you can request a single session. Again, you just call and you say, I just need to meet with a counselor one time. I just like a single session. You can request that right up front. Then you don't have to go through all the question and answer kind of thing that we do for a lot of other things. If you still want to do that, we might go through that and say, hey, maybe just meeting with a counselor once is fine. But if you ask for a single session, they'll schedule that for you, and you can request to do that over the phone or over Zoom. We do most of our counseling sessions using Zoom because it's a nice confidential way of being able to see each other and talk with each other. It works really, really well. We've been doing it since last spring, so all of our counselors are very good at using Zoom. So you just give us a call to get things started, and from there we'll help you determine what your needs are and what's going to best meet those needs. Often people think of individual counseling. I'm going to meet with a counselor one-on-one. I'm going to share my life story and they're going to tell me and put me all back together. It's not actually like you see in the movies, okay? And one of the things we find with a lot of people's concerns is that group therapy is a really great option and does some really, really good helping for people. So we have a number of groups that we run. And again, it's not like in the movies where you stand up and say, hello, my name is, and I struggle with this. And then you sit down. It's a lot more real life than that. In group, we get to talk about real things. We get to relate to each other in real ways. We get to have conversations that you don't normally have outside of group. And it's really wonderful. Our main therapy groups are what we call understanding self and others groups. And it's kind of what the name suggests. It's about coming to understand yourself. It's coming to understand relationships with other people. You're able to get feedback from others about you. You can ask about others. You can have them ask you questions. You get to talk about what's really meaningful and what matters to you and get that feedback, not only from professionals, but from peers as well. And most people find group to be an incredibly wonderful experience. They learn a lot from their peers, as well as from the professionals that are in the groups. So we really like group. We will often suggest that because it works so well. If you find that a little intimidating, that's okay. Most people join group and they end up having a wonderful experience, better than they thought they might. So we have our general therapy groups. We also have a specific group for anxiety called our anxiety action group. So it's more structured than our general groups, but it's got room to talk about, but it does focus specifically on anxiety, general anxiety concerns or social anxiety, okay? If social relationships are really difficult and anxiety provoking for you, that's a great group to join. We also have our, what we call our DBT group, and we like to call it our Do Better Today group. And this is a very structured group. This is about learning skills to deal with emotional concerns. And so you'll learn different skills of regulating emotions and tolerating distress and being able to be more present in what you're doing and dealing with those relationship concerns where emotions just get flared up. And so it's very skilled. It's a little bit more class-like in that group, less of the sharing like we have in the USO group. Okay. So again, it depends on your needs and we'll help you sort that out when you talk to us, when you call in. Another thing that we have is what we call our CATS Connections groups. And these are not therapy groups. These are drop-in groups for specific groups on campus that need a little bit of support. And it's good to connect with others that may share a similar identity as them. So we have 3 specific groups. One for our international students. If you're an international student, you can join in on Fridays, 1 to 2 o'clock on Zoom. There was a link on our website for each of these groups, and you can just join. You don't need to have an appointment. You can just join in, okay, with any of these. So for international students to get together and talk about those specific concerns that come with being an international student here at ISU. We have our CAT Spectrum group, and that is for those that are on the autism spectrum, whether with a diagnosis or just kind of relate to different parts of autism spectrum. And that's gonna be on Tuesdays at noon. And then our CATS parenting group is for those students who are parents, who have children that they're kind of balancing that family life along with being a student. There's a lot to balance there. And so we have a specific group where you can come together and talk together as parents and students and dealing with the specific concerns that come with those things. So information on each of these is on our website. Another really cool service that we have, this is one of my favorites, is biofeedback service. I'm our biofeedback coordinator, so that's why I love this. But biofeedback is something where we use technology and we can measure physiological processes associated with stress in your body. We can place sensors. Often it's just a simple ear clip we can clip on your ear, or there's sensors we can put on your fingers. Sometimes we'll put them on your shoulders to measure muscle tension. But we can look at how your body is handling stress. And from there, we can teach you different strategies and things you can do to lower and reduce and manage the stress that you feel. This has been shown to be really effective, not only for stress management, for dealing with anxiety. If you get frequent headaches or migraines, there's a lot of physical concerns that come with this, but it's been helpful with depression, a whole range of struggles that people have. And so we can use that and actually work with your physical body to help balance your emotional functioning. And so even with COVID, we have permission from the university to still do biofeedback appointments. So these ones, we can do them in person or we can do them on Zoom. On Zoom, we can't use the sensors, but we can teach the strategies. We will have a few limited in-person appointments for biofeedback. And so that's something that, again, will be talked about when you meet with that counselor on that initial phone call, where we can set it up and do it very safely. We wear masks, we do what we need to do to keep you safe and make sure we're not spreading any COVID infections. So I'm going to go ahead, just because of time, skip that slide. But we want you to think about, this is where we want your participation, but I want to ask you, what are the things that have been causing you stress, especially, as you're coming to college? Go ahead and throw it into the chat. Simple things, the things that maybe you've stressed about maybe in the past or thinking about coming to college. What are the things that are showing up that are maybe making things a little more stressful? You're feeling a little uneasy. You can go ahead and throw them into the chat feature. Let's just get a general sense of what's going on. Okay, new environment, yeah, okay. Transitioning to a new place is totally stressful. Thank you, Justin. Okay, how to go to college while raising 3 kids. Join our parenting group. You can talk about that one, okay, absolutely. Okay, harder to get places, being away from home. Okay, money. Thank you for putting money on there. That's an ever-present concern for so many people. Okay, having everything online. Okay, that's our #1 with COVID-19 here in college, right? This is maybe not what you pictured coming to college to be right now. Okay, having to do everything online. Just kind of scrolling through here. Being away from family and friends. Lack of that face-to-face interaction. I'm with you. Like, I love face-to-face interactions with people. And so having to be physically distant, do everything over technology, that makes it harder and it feels a lot more stressful. Okay, you guys are topping on some great things. These are things that are very common concerns for so many of us, okay? What about class quality? Am I gonna get as good of an education doing it online? That's a legitimate question. That we have concerns about. I think you'll find that instructors are all set for that. Okay, see, parenting, finding a job, okay, being far away, okay, feeling introverted and having to, yeah, now I feel like I have to be extroverted. Okay, what a transition that is. Okay, all right, stresses with classes, lots of changes. Gosh, you're throwing out all kinds of good stuff. So thank you for throwing those out there. I hope you can see you're not the only one that probably relates to whatever you put down here. Okay, and you're probably seeing some things in the chat that's like, oh yeah, that's what I've been worried about too. These are very common concerns, right? College is going to be a different experience this semester than maybe you grew up thinking, okay, and that you've seen and wondered about. For all of us here at ISU, we're missing that, and we're sad that it's not the same. And at the same time, there's a lot of excitement about still going forward with your education. And so it comes with some challenges. And so we want to be very aware of that. When you can acknowledge that, hey, this is what we're facing, and it is harder than it normally probably would be in a lot of senses. In some ways, it might be a little easier. Some of you are like, yes, woohoo, online learning. I love it. Okay, that's great if that works for you. For some, it might be more of a challenge. So recognize these challenges are going to pop up all the time. It's not necessarily that you're doing anything wrong, but getting some strategies, getting some help with these things can often make it to where it's not as much of a challenge. Okay, and that's what we want to help you with. There's a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot of uncertainty. There are so many people here on campus here to help you out. Okay, we're just one among dozens of offices that are here to help you with academic concerns. We're here to help you with emotional concerns, okay, and the transitions that are going on. So we want you to know that that's available. Okay. Now there are some things that you can be doing with or without counseling. And when you come to counseling, we'll often help you identify these things that maybe need some improvement. When we're dealing with stress, it's really about taking care of yourself, right? Sometimes it's just a matter of focusing on something like sleep. That's what's missing. Like, I'm not putting myself to bed on time. It's not working very well. So learning some basic strategies for sleep hygiene can make a huge difference. Okay, we see a lot of this. The students are not getting enough sleep, and sleep deprivation, it hurts. It does. We all need that. Okay, we need good nutritious food. We need good exercise. Okay, and so it's about balancing. When you're coming to college, there's so much to deal with. Okay, especially those of you that are, again, parenting small children, or you're far away from home, or you are an introvert. I'm an introvert. I'm with you on that one. And you're like, gosh, this is really challenging just to meet people. And now I can't even meet with them face to face, right? So it's about finding the things that are going to work for you and getting those basic things in place. So eating well, sleeping well, getting regular exercise. The rec center is still open. It's taking care of you. Okay. Doing things that you enjoy. Put that into your schedule, right? If it's all class all the time, maybe that's the thing you enjoy, and that's great. But balance it out with things that are meaningful to you, okay? Take some breaks away from school. Come back to school, stay on top of your homework, but stay connected to others. I heard someone put it really well. Right now, the term is out there we use a lot is social distancing. And I don't love that term. I heard someone explain it this way. Let's call it physical distancing and social connection. Those are the two things that we need right now. We can be distant from each other, so we're not getting each other sick, but socially we need to stay connected with each other. And there's so many people on campus that want to help you do that. It's going to have to be a creative time for doing that, since our usual methods are a little bit restricted. But all of these things are basic things that you can put in place right now before classes even start. Okay, get on a good schedule and put these things in. If you need help with that, that's why we're here. But one of the other things we want to emphasize that Kristen's going to teach you about is the practice of mindfulness, because it's going to help you with stress immensely.
Thanks, Matt. And we do want to invite any specific questions that you all might have about counseling or our services. Please throw them in the chat. We'll try to address them. If we didn't touch on something that you're curious about, or even you can contact us privately after this as well, if you have questions about that. So I'm wondering, gosh, it's hard to see everyone's faces. I can only see about 6 people, but when we initially said mindfulness, people nowadays kind of have an idea what this is. And I think some people are either like, oh, that sounds cool. Or other people are like, oh, that sounds awful. Like, we have an immediate reaction to mindfulness now. So my hope is that for the next, let's see, 15, 20 minutes or so, just keep an open mind and see what this is like at the end. So we're going to hear from some of our experts. Go ahead and play the video. Thank you.
All right. Pull it up here.
like.
Just a moment. I fiddle with the controls here. All right, we good?
Get really mad when my brother hits me a lot. I don't like it when you say you don't want to play with me. When I'm mad, my brain can get a headache and it can start hurting. Your blood keeps pumping because you're like really mad. And you start to get sweaty because you're getting really, really mad. And then when you start getting really mad, you turn red. When your body can't really control yourself, mad just takes over your body. I just get out of control. It's kind of like if you had a jar and then the jar would be your brain and then you put glitter in the jar and that would be how you would feel. If you shook up the jar and the glitter went everywhere, that would be how your mind looks. And it's like spinning around and then you don't have any time to think. And you sometimes punch stuff and people when you don't really mean it. When I get angry, I feel it in my heart. I really don't like when I get angry. The amygdala really reacts, but the prefrontal cortex tries to keep it down. When I feel like I want to, get really angry and yell, I just sometimes, take deep breath. First you find a place where you can be alone, then you find some way to relax and calm down. When I need to calm down, I take deep breaths. I breathe in through my nose. Sometimes I close my eyes or just take deep breaths. It's calming down, it's not moving. It's slowing down and then it stops. And the heart pumps slow and then it goes into your brain. It's like all the sparkles are at the bottom of your brain. My brain slows down and then I feel more calm and then I'm ready to speak to that person.
I'm pretty sure those are the cutest kids ever. Um, and I think I kind of love this video in the way that it kind of demonstrates that there's a pretty specific, pretty easy-ish way to help our bodies manage strong emotions. And I don't know about you all, but I've noticed in myself and the people closest to me recently, we've had a lot of tantrums in our house. We've had a lot of high emotions and anger because of everything that's a little out of our control. And there's a lot of intensity right now. So just for the next few moments, I want to introduce this topic and concept of mindfulness. And then in a few moments, we'll practice it ourselves. So for those unfamiliar with this concept, this is more of a formal definition. Mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way pardon, in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally. In a nutshell, it means intentionally paying attention to what is happening in this moment, where oftentimes we as humans, our brains are more designed to think about future events and potential problems and stressors, right? Or past problems, past stressors, to make sure that we don't repeat them. And that's pretty much how we as humans have survived over time, is kind of being miserable, living either in the future or in the past. What mindfulness is, it's basically the concept to say, okay, brain, I know that you're prone to doing this. And the more that I am in this moment right now, focusing on what my body is doing, in my emotions, in my mind, then that right there is the practice of mindfulness. And there's this little element of non-judgmentally that we'll talk about in a few minutes. Okay, next. Thank you. So some benefits, like the video kind of discussed a little bit, some benefits of practicing being in this moment is that when our minds are less focused on future problems or past things that we regret or didn't like, we have lower depression, we have lower anxiety. Our bodies feel more content. They feel more able to manage what's happening in our lives. We have a greater sense of relaxation and a reduction in stress because our bodies have to work less hard. When we're in this stressed place of thinking about future events all the time or ruminating about the past, our body has to work really, really hard. It has to work hard to focus in school. It has to work hard on being calm and manifesting relationships that we like. We have to, it just takes more effort, right? So we get sick more often. We have a hard time connecting with others if we're stuck in our heads. However, if we kind of develop this sense of mindfulness or being in the present moment, we have more ease in which we can manage challenging situations. We actually we're able to memorize things better, focus better. We can concentrate in classes rather than being so distracted and on homework and things like this. And we also have more stable emotions. Things are less tight and heavy. We can kind of handle things a little bit with more ease. Next. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so great, Kristen. This sounds awesome. How do I do this, right? So mindfulness, just like anything, let's say we're training for a marathon. What you do to go train for a marathon is start by going on a walk or going to the gym for a few minutes. Same idea with mindfulness. So it's about tapping into this moment and actively noticing what's going on. So if I'm sitting at home, I'm just going to sit at home, sitting on the couch. I'm going to hear things that are happening in my apartment, and I'm going to notice my body sitting on the chair. You can tap into your feelings, your body sensations, and your thoughts in that exact moment. What you're doing in that moment by intentionally saying, I'm going to focus on this moment right now, you start to develop this mindfulness muscle, so to speak, where instead of being trapped in your thoughts and in the stories that your thoughts are creating, you're actually being actively present of what you're experiencing in that moment. And we often do this through our physical senses. That's kind of the easiest way that we as humans can be in the present moment, is through our physical senses. So we can view what we're actually seeing through our eyes. We can hear what we're actually hearing through our ears, and through our hands and senses. We can actually be present with those rather than with our thoughts kind of implementing the story on them. All right, next slide. Okay, so now we get to practice for a few minutes. I love this cartoon because it says, I'm going to sit down and empty my thoughts, right? There's a nice little meditator. And then the little kitty says, that's what I do all day. I don't know if any of you have pets or animals at home, but that's kind of what dogs and cats kind of do. They don't get caught up in the story about, what happened yesterday. They're just sitting there hanging out. And so we're just going to take a note from their book for a few moments, and we're going to practice ourselves. So for the next few minutes, we will, I'll kind of guide you in a brief meditation. If you're comfortable with this, that's wonderful. If you say not for me, that's cool too. You can just kind of tune me out. So for the next couple moments, if you can just get in a comfortable, relaxed position, wherever you are, and maybe getting anything off of your lap where you can just sit comfortably for a few moments. It can be helpful to have your feet flat on the floor, or if you're kind of like in a laying position, seeing if you can kind of have a nice alert posture, but relaxed, right? So maybe like uncross your arms or uncross your legs, seeing if you can just be in a relaxed posture that you can just sit for a few moments without really having to move too much. You're welcome to close your eyes if that's comfortable. If not, you can just kind of close them slightly with maybe a downward gaze. Just for a few moments, just seeing if we can just feel our bodies sitting in this chair right now. So we're going to first pay attention to our feet. For the next few moments, just bring your awareness into your feet. Maybe this is the first time you've noticed you've had feet all day. Maybe not. But notice perhaps the feeling of the shoe around your foot. Notice the gentle pressure that your foot might be connecting with the earth, your bed, the chair. Just for the next few moments, feel nothing but your feet. And as your mind starts to get distracted and maybe bored or annoyed, notice that just for a moment. And then seeing if you can bring your awareness right back to your feet. And now working your way up your body, seeing if you can notice how your body makes contact with where you're sitting. Notice the pressure, perhaps the heaviness that you feel connecting with your chair, the bed. Perhaps noticing your back, seeing if you have any places of tension or stress. We often carry a lot of tension and stress in our necks and backs. Seeing if just for a few moments, just bringing a little bit of awareness to your body. I'll invite you now to notice your breath. Perhaps pretend this is the very first time you've ever noticed that you breathe. How do you know that you're breathing? Physical sensations of breathing. Oftentimes we notice it through our nose, or our mouth, or our throat, chest, or belly. Just for a few moments, see if you can follow a breath all the way in and all the way out. Seeing if we can do that again, perhaps breathing in through your nose, noticing all the sensations of breathing in through your nose, perhaps breathing out through your mouth. We'll do that just a couple more times. In through your nose. Nice, slow exhale through your mouth. And on this next one, seeing if you can breathe in through your nose. And as you take your next exhale, seeing if you can soften and relax some of the tension in your body. Perhaps you found tension in your shoulders or your face, hands, On your exhale, seeing if you can just soften and let a little bit of that tension go. If you're noticing your mind get distracted by planning or different thoughts, sounds in your environment, gently say that's okay and bring it right back to your breath. Maybe we'll do about 3 more of these, seeing if you can find a sense of ease in your breath just for a few moments. Seeing if you can just notice how your body naturally breathes. There's nothing to do, nothing to change. Just noticing the ease of the breath. And when you're ready, come back, opening your eyes, feeling free to kind of wiggle your feet and your hands for a few moments. And I know we're about out of time. And if you have maybe like a word or two about what that experience was like for you, perhaps it was stressful, ooh, sleepy, right? Yeah, that is, this can be extremely helpful if you have a hard time kind of turning off your mind at night for sleep, focusing on your breath, meditation, yep. So if you could just throw in maybe a word or two about what that experience was like for you. I see grounding, relaxing. I love meditation and yoga. It helps me take a minute away from the stress of every day. Absolutely. Relaxing, centered, refreshing. It felt like taking a super quick nap. I agree. Just even, we were breathing for about 4 minutes, right? It does kind of hit the reset button that can be incredibly nice sometimes. Peaceful, calming. I feel like I have more oxygen now. That's cool. Nice and floaty, calming, sense of peace. Excellent. So my hope in teaching and just giving you just a little snapshot of mindfulness is that I want you to know that this is accessible to you. We go everywhere with this breath. And so this can be a nice, think of this as a soft reset, right? When we're having kind of a funky time or we can't quite get out of our fog or things are just kind of off, this can be a really nice little soft reset for you throughout the day. Whether you're transitioning into bed or hanging out with friends or trying to transition to homework or school, this can be a way to help refocus in from perhaps what was going on into something else. So we have a couple ways to practice mindfulness. We have a mindfulness meditation group open up to students, staff, faculty, community members. This is on Zoom, Fridays from 12:15 to 12:45. So this is kind of hosted through counseling and testing that you don't have to be a client to come. Just come to the website and get the link for Zoom. It's a really wonderful way to start or continue your mindfulness practice. And then we also have several different mindfulness courses that are offered through ISU. I'm actually teaching the Mindful Self-Compassion course, which is wonderful and delightful. And all of these courses are through the health sciences, and they're all 8-week courses. So keep that in mind. If at some point here at ISU you want to learn a little bit more about mindfulness, I highly recommend these courses. They are wonderful. Okay, next slide. And of course, everything has an app, right? Mindfulness has a ton of apps, and if you have one that you love, wonderful. These are some of our top favorites. Insight Timer is free. It has a ton of guided audios that will help kind of guide you through meditations. Stop, Breathe, Think is another wonderful app. Calm, very popular. Headspace, very popular. I think those two, they're free for a limited time, and then they do charge. And then, but pretty much if you just type in any sort of like YouTube or app in your phone for meditation, you'll find something. Find what you like. And then mindful.org is a really wonderful resource online. Really good articles through there. And then 10% Happier is another really great podcasting app that I would recommend checking out as well. And if you all have any other questions about mindfulness, please come and talk to us. All of us here are really familiar with mindfulness. We use it a lot, personally and professionally. And Matt, I don't know if you want to highlight other things.
Let me step back in. Yeah, just to wrap up, we're just here to help students, right? We teach mindfulness because we find it helpful. We find it helpful for us. We find it helpful for students. The things that we do are things that we find to be helpful to help people get through the difficult things that arise, because they do arise. Okay, so here is our contact information. We have a lot of information on our website, but you can always call us. Please call us. If there's any other questions, you can either speak up for the next minute or so, or throw it in the chat. If we can answer those really quickly before our time is up.
Brooke, did you have anything else that we maybe missed or that you would add?
No, thank you both so much for this session today. And thank you, students,